Okay, welcome back to the next episode on the 2.5 RS, and today is actually kind of a big day. This is something that I've been looking forward to doing for a while now. We're not actually going to be doing anything to the car, but we are going to be talking about something that is an issue, as you guys can see right here. As you can see, the rust is getting pretty bad on the RS. It's actually still the same as it has been. I just was kind of chipping away and peeling at it on the quarters, and obviously it doesn't look great. So what I have done is I've gone out and bought a welder. So this is a MIG slash flux core clutch 140. This is the one that I decided to go with. It fit the budget, and I think it's going to be enough to do what we're trying to do with the car. Now, I believe that the Subie savers and the metal on the car is 18 gauge. I may be wrong. It may be 20 or 16. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe that this will be enough to do what we're trying to do. So unfortunately, I don't have a tank set up just yet to do MIG welding, but I do have flux core wire currently in it. I've done a little bit of messing around with it. As you can see, my welding needs a lot of work, but this was just me messing around, and I found out after the fact that this is aluminum, which is part of the reason why I burned through it in so many places. But I was just tweaking the settings on the welder and trying to get a feel for it, and this one down here, this long one, was, I think, my last one that I did. So turned out okay, but again, we won't be using flux core on the car. We'll be doing MIG, simply because flux core has a lot of splatter, as you can see. But what I do have today is a little bit of steel from the exhaust. Now, that is obviously aluminum, so from my understanding, aluminum is incredibly hard to weld and it's very easy to burn through, which is why it looks like garbage. But I have this steel exhaust pipe, and I'm just going to cut it up into some sections and mess around with the welder. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing in this episode. Obviously, this isn't the same thickness metal as we would be using on the Subie savers, but I'm not going to go and start welding on the Subie savers because they're very expensive and you cannot get them right now. So eventually I'll go maybe to like Lowe's or something and get the same thickness steel that the Subie savers are. That way I'll actually be practicing on the actual thickness, and I can get my settings right and all that good stuff. So just to preface all of this, I've welded like one time before in my life, maybe when I was 12 years old. Looked terrible. Didn't even know what I was doing. It was kind of one of those things. We were just in my dad's friend's shop. He had a welder. He was like, hey, you want to try welding? And that's what it was. So this episode, we're just going to be messing around with it, doing a couple of tacks and see if we can run any beads. I don't think I'm going to be doing any prep work whatsoever. I kind of just want to do it dirty just to see what's going to happen. Obviously, when we do the real thing, we're going to do as much prep and make it as clean as possible, because I don't want to ruin very expensive Subie savers that you can't get right now, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing set up, and I'll make some cuts on that exhaust pipe, and we'll do a little bit of welding. Want to apologize in advance. My setup is not great, so I'm literally just going to be doing it on the floor. And but yeah, we're just trying to get used to it, trying to get a feel for the machine and see how it is. Obviously, I have no welding experience, so I'm just trying to get my hands dirty and see what I can do. So let's get this thing set up. Okay, so we got our two pieces of metal. Unfortunately, I don't have a tool to figure out what thickness this is, but I'm just going to take a guess on the machine. Now, this machine has settings for wire speed and voltage, and it also has like a template on here as far as flux core goes and what wire speed to be at and what voltage to be at based on the thickness of the metal. I just want to make it clear that I'm not a welder, and I'm really just kind of messing around getting a feel for it. I'm not trying to do anything significant here. I know people who are actual welders get really upset when it comes to like people who weld bad and stuff like that. So if you're a welder, just ignore how terrible it is. I know it's terrible. You don't have to tell me in the comments, but this is how I'm going to learn, and this is how I'm going to do it. So if you have constructive criticism, that'd be awesome. I would really appreciate it. But enough of that. We're going to get right into it. The higher the number, the thicker the metal. The higher the number, the thinner the metal, and the lower the number, the thicker it is. So I'm just going to go with settings for 11 gauge and see how that looks. And then if that looks pretty bad, which I'm assuming it will, I'll just go up from there one by one. So my settings for 11 gauge are going to be for flux core 0.30. We're going to be at 9 voltage. Yep, 9 voltage and 5 to 7 wire speed. So we're going to go ahead and crank that up, and we'll put the wire speed at 6. So we're going to go ahead and give this a shot. Okay, so we clearly burnt a hole right through that. So I'm going to drop the settings. So obviously I think my settings need lots of adjustment, but we have a tack, sort of, and yeah, I'm just gonna keep adjusting from there and see what happens.
Let the rhythm move us, yeah baby, take it too far. You're at the center of my attention, yeah you got me so lost. I love the way that you move and how the lights keep up the groove. We're like in a movie, baby, but it's ending too soon. We're here now, let's party together. Let's live, tonight is forever. We're here now.
As you guys can see, I am clearly not a great welder. I think I'm just too all over the place. Sometimes I think I'm too close, too far. Not really sure. But, I mean, as you can see, I mean, we do have welds over here. I was just kind of messing around a little bit. But we do have welds that seem like decent. I mean, they're not great, obviously, but yeah, I put a new tip on, and maybe we'll adjust the settings a little bit, but we're gonna try that now.
Let the rhythm move us, yeah baby, take it too far. You're at the center of my attention, yeah you got me so.
Clearly, as I told you guys before, I am not a welder. So I'm not really sure what I'm looking at here as far as what looks good and what looks bad. I'm assuming all of it looks bad. The only part that looks semi-decent, I would say, is right there. I mean, obviously it doesn't look great, but I mean, as you can see, I mean, obviously I don't know what I'm doing right, so this isn't gonna look great. And also, on top of not knowing what I'm doing, I'm using flux core, which I know I've seen videos where guys are getting good results with flux core right here. I was actually just kind of holding it down to see how long it would take for it to burn through. Apparently 10 to 15 seconds won't burn through. But anyways, I know people are getting good results with flux core, and obviously I think I could too with enough practice. But I know that MIG welding is a lot cleaner than flux core. So that's kind of what I'm going to be going for. Obviously, I'm going to need a tank setup and all that good stuff. And I'm going to need tons and tons of practice, as you can tell. But, I mean, the goal for this video was kind of to just get my hands dirty on something that isn't aluminum, like the last one that I did. I'd say I achieved what I was trying to achieve today, which was not good welds, but to just kind of familiarize myself with it. Now, obviously, when you guys see those clips, you're going to be freaking out. You're going to be trash talking me. I get it. It's totally fine. But, again, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. I know we didn't really do anything to the car, but I think this is going to be a big step in fixing probably the biggest issue with the car, and obviously that is the rust. So the sooner I can familiarize myself with welding and sort of learn what to do for my application, the better off the car will be in the near future. So again, that's going to be it for this episode. If you guys aren't following the series, make sure you go to my channel and check out all of the previous episodes. I do have a playlist with all the episodes on it for your convenience. But with that being said, that's going to be it for this week's episode, and I'll see you guys next week.